Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So let me start today's video by asking you a few very interesting but very simple questions that I'm sure that you would have also thought about. So number one, tell me the difference between effective communication and effective English speaking. Right? Please type out your response. That's question one. Question two, can you tell me the meaning of soft skills? What exactly do you mean when you say that, hey Akshat, I need to improve my soft skills? What exactly are you trying to improve upon? Because I have heard this sentence from students hundreds of times. So do explain it to me. What exactly is the meaning of soft skills? Finally, guess the number one money-making skill that you need to cultivate. I'm sure that given the context of the video, all of you would be able to guess that the number one money-making skill is effective communication. That is the number one skill. So I'll change the question. Name number 2, 3 and 4 skills in terms of money making which are extremely important. So I will read all these answers. So on this video, I'm going to do two things. One, I'm going to share my story of becoming an effective communicator and how by being an effective communicator, I could earn a lot of money. So I will share that entire roadmap with you. And subsequently on this video, I'm going to disclose 3 very effective communication strategies that you need to pick up if you want to take your communication style and skills to the next level. Please stay tuned till the end of this very video because I'm going to discuss the same strategies that I teach my students who are applying to Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, these type of schools. They incorporate it and they clear interviews at these schools also by incorporating these strategies that I'm going to speak on this video. So let's get this video started and let me share my story of becoming an effective communicator. So my story is very simple. So I grew up in a very small town. So my dad belongs to a town called as Katni, which is in Madhya Pradesh. And given that it was a small town, there was hardly any useful school infrastructure there. There were very few English learning facilities. So my parents always used to worry. They used to think that, hey Akshat, you know what, you might struggle in life because your English speaking skills might not be fully cultivated. Growing up, even I used to have this complex. Whenever I used to meet someone from Delhi or Mumbai or any big city, I used to imagine them as baby Shashi Tharoors. That they would speak English so fluently that I would have literally no confidence to speak with them. So I used to make up all these imaginary things in my mind that my accent needs to be really good or I need to be as fluent as someone from Delhi in order to speak well with them. All these unimportant things used to really mess up my brain. But subsequently I realized that learning English is very important and I need to pay a lot of emphasis and attention to this skill because it is ubiquitous. It is required literally everywhere. Whether you are speaking on YouTube, whether you want to do a job, whether you want to do sales, whether you want to do marketing, what is that common thread that connects all of these things? It is your ability to communicate effectively. So I started paying a lot of attention in terms of improving my English speaking skills. Up until class 9th, I could barely communicate effectively in English and I was really poor in terms of my oratory skills. Then I started doing really basic things. For example, I started watching English commentary. That is where I learned 50% of my English. I started reading novels. I started reading basic books. I started reading newspaper. I started listening to English channels and news. Back in the day, the internet was not that prevalent. So of course, I could not go on YouTube and listen to good speakers, all that stuff. Similarly, there was no on-demand platforms like Netflix and Amazon Prime where I could open up subtitles and watch it. So the avenues were very limited, but whatever avenues I had, I deliberately tried to learn from them. So doing all this hard work took me to a certain stage where I was confident in terms of my English skills that, hey, I know basic grammar, I can construct sentences, I can speak reasonably well, but I was always underconfident. That was one thing that was always there. And this thing changed when I started working at a major consulting firm. Now that is where I got more exposure. I started interacting and engaging with people from different walks of life. I started engaging with senior level executives. So that exposure acted as a catalyst to take my communication skills to the next level. Similarly, when I went to INSEAD, that is where it acted as a game changer for me. So at INSEAD, I met people from over 75 nationalities. I made friends from all across the world and I used to engage and interact with them on a wide variety of subjects. So it's not as if that I went to INSEAD and I started taking some kind of English lessons. No. But the exposure that I got by being at INSEAD, that gave me a lot of confidence. Do tell me in the comment section that do you not feel many a times that my English is very good, but my confidence is not there, therefore I'm not able to speak. If you have gone through that, do comment. I would love to read your story. But the point that I want to drive home from my story is very simple. That number one, they can improve their English irrespective of which city they have grown up in. That is the first key thing that you should notice from this story. Second is that improving your English and improving your communication skills, they are somewhat tied together, but they are not exactly the same things. I'll explain it to you subsequently in this video, what is the difference. But the bottom line is that you might have really good English skills, right? For example, you might draft things really well, you might have very good vocabulary, but communicating effectively is a very different ball game altogether, and it requires confidence. And confidence is something that you will get with exposure. So listen to this next part of the video. I'm going to talk about that how you can move from stage 1 to stage 2 and stage 3. There are 3 very specific points and key lessons that I'm going to talk about. So the first key lesson that you need to understand is that there is a huge difference between being good in English and being an effective communicator. This is a point that many of you might miss. This is a point that even I missed when I was growing up, and I wish that I would have understood this point earlier. Now let me demonstrate this point, that what is the difference between having good English skills vis-a-vis communicating effectively. For this, we will use a funny picture of Mona Lisa. So you can see this picture of Mona Lisa here. If I have good command over English, then I might say something like this, that the painter has juxtaposed the inner image of Mona Lisa onto this painting, which acts as a symbolism for the modern world. Now, I have used very heavy words, and I'm sure, and please tell me what did you understand out of this sentence. The answer would be that not much, right? So you would not have understood much. Now, this proves that I might have really good English speaking skills, but I've communicated to you in such a way that you might not have understood anything out of it. So this is good English, but poor communication. On the flip side, if I would have simply said that, hey, this is a picture of Mona Lisa, and this is a very funny picture of Mona Lisa. She's holding her phone, taking a selfie. So it's probably a joke on what is going on in the modern world. Now, I essentially said the same thing, but I communicated well when I depicted this picture for the second time. So the difference between effective communication and being good at English is that effective communication simply means that if I am saying 10 things to you, you are able to understand 9 or 8. That means that I am a good, effective communicator. Now you would say, Akshat, you know what? I read like Wren and Martin. I study like so many different high-level English speaking books. Should I not do it? It depends what your goal or objective is. For example, if your goal or objective is to progress in your corporate career, or if your goal is to build a sales channel, or if your goal is to learn about marketing, then you need to become, or you need to focus on becoming a more effective communicator. Improving your literature skills is not going to make you an effective communicator in the corporate world. Now, why do I say it? Because you might have observed that when you're interacting, hypothetically speaking, with your CEO, or if you are working with the head of your product team, they always expect you to be swift in terms of communicating things to them. They would say that, hey, just communicate things effectively. Tell me the core message so that I can get on with my life, right? Because in corporate world, everyone is busy. So you need to become an effective communicator, not a very good English speaker, right? So there is a huge difference between the two. Please understand the difference. And I'm not saying that don't improve your English skills. Improve it. Read grammar, read Wren and Martin, read a bunch of different books. But at the same time, make conscious effort to build your effective communication skills. So this brings us to lesson number 2, that how exactly do you become an effective communicator? Now I can do a 10-hour course on this, but I'll keep it short, brief, to the point here. Now there are essentially 3 steps to becoming an effective communicator. Step 1 is that you must understand and build your basics. Right? For example, if you are having problems in terms of sentence construction, you don't understand basic grammar, what is active voice, what is passive voice, you don't understand adverbs, adjectives, prepositions, noun, then you are in a little bit of trouble, right? So you need to build your basics first. Start from the absolute basic books and you will be good to build your basics, because everyone can do it. That's not a problem area. There are enough YouTube tutorials, different simplified books that you can pick and develop this basic. So this is absolute starting point for you. Get started there. Number 2, you need to get exposure, right? So exposure means that, for example, if you're watching English movies, or if you're reading novels, if you're listening to English podcasts, if you're listening to me speaking on YouTube, you're getting exposed to English language. Now, here is a very important point for you to note down, that, for example, if you go and start listening to poor communicators with great English, you will not learn about effective communication. I'll say that again. If you listen to poor communicators with good English, you will not learn about effective communication. In order to become an effective communicator, what do you need to do? You need to go and absorb information from whom? From effective communicators, right? Now, there are a few of my favorite effective communicators that I absolutely love to listen. So one would be Harsha Bhogle. I think he speaks with such clarity. It is super impressive. So do go and watch him. Just listening to him is a treat, right? So do listen to him. Very simple, easy to understand person. Try try to emulate his speaking style, there are a bunch of things that you can learn from Mr. Harsha Bhogle. In terms of exposure, also try to understand how your favorite people speak. For example, if you like someone's channel on YouTube, hypothetically if you like my channel, try to engage more with my content. Try to emulate my speaking style. Why? Because if you have affinity or if you feel a connection with someone, you are going to listen to them more intently, right? So from that angle, you yourself identify some good speakers and try to get exposed to their style of communication. So this will give you exposure. This is very important. You can get this exposure by following your list of best speakers, by following some really good podcasts, watching some movies, opening up the subtitles, reading through it. So building your basics and getting this exposure takes you to a very high level, right? So out of 10, you might be at level 6 or 7 by doing these two things well. Now comes the really interesting part, that if you want to move from level 6 or 7 to 9 or 10, what is it that you need to do? You need to build confidence. This is the most important part, and without building confidence, you will always keep questioning yourself, right? You would absorb everything, you will understand all the English, you will understand all the basic points, but you yourself might not be able to do it. So it is very important to understand, but the reason why you're not able to take that leap of faith from being a good student to being an active speaker is the lack of confidence. Now, how do you build confidence? Now, essentially, there are two ways to building your confidence, and this is what I have observed. So, one would be an intrinsic belief system that you have, and second would be an extrinsic belief system. So, intrinsic belief system would be God gift, right? So to say, for example, if you feel very confident that, you know what, I'm going to bat and I'm a very good batsman, and if a fast bowler comes, I'll hit him for a 6. And I can do this process day in and day out, and I'm very, very confident about that skill. Probably it's a God gift, right? So you might have met a lot of people who are just super confident about everything, right? They are extroverts, they are super confident about everything. They just believe in whatever they are doing. Now, if you don't have that belief system and if you don't have that God's gift, what you need to do is that you need to take a spherical approach to improving, right? So spherical approach means something like this. So imagine a ring of 5 concentric circles, right? So it must be here. So let's say that if you want to move from point 1 to point 2, that's an easy way for you to switch. But if you directly want to jump from point 1 to point 5, that's a very difficult leap of faith. That's very difficult for you to achieve. So the way you will build your confidence is by moving from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. So undertaking this slow improvement is something that can build your confidence, and you yourself, after a bit of hard work, will build this belief system. Now comes the second part of building confidence, which is extrinsic belief system of building confidence. Now here what happens is that you put yourself in unfamiliar situations, because as human beings, we learn a lot when we are thrown in unfamiliar situations. You know, how did I learn swimming? So this is a very funny incident. So my dad took me to a swimming pool and he threw me there, right? So that's it. That's how I learned swimming. Now, before you jump into the fact that, you know what, your dad should not have done. No, he was there. So in case something would have happened to me, he would have saved me, right? So because he knew swimming. So the point that I want to drive home here is very simple, that in order to build your confidence, you need to put yourself in unfamiliar situation. Here is another example. So when I went to INSEAD, at that stage in my life, I would have never spoken with a Polish person, or I would have not spoken with a Russian person. Now, I put myself in that situation to go to INSEAD. There I interacted with my classmates. Then I got a sense that, okay, hey, you know what, this is how Russians think, or this is how Polish people think. So it gave me more exposure. So putting yourself in unfamiliar situation is the fastest and the most effective way of building your confidence. Now you can try out Cambly. It's a wonderful app. I have used it and I've loved the tutors there. They are super friendly. So using this app, you can put yourself in that unfamiliar situation. Here is me talking to a Cambly tutor. So you have been teaching on Cambly, or do you do like other stuff?
Yes. Yes. It's been since the beginning of the year. I think I had my 6-month anniversary last week. I got a nice message from Cambly. Thank you, Cambly. If you can see on YouTube, thank you for the message. Okay.
Now, when you put yourself in these unfamiliar situations, you build a lot more confidence. If you are speaking with people from different nationalities, you will understand more about their speaking style. You will understand their customs, traditions. You will modulate your speaking style. So the level of exposure and confidence that you will derive from these extrinsic situations would help you create your belief system and become a more effective communicator. So now let me share a couple of techniques that I teach my students who have interviewed with colleges like Harvard, Stanford, and have aced their interviews. So do press the like button if you like these tips. So a couple of points. So one is that I advocate following something called as 1-minute rule. So 1-minute rule during the interview, it simply means that if the interviewer is asking you a question, try to wrap up your answer in 1 minute, right? Why? Because as humans, we have very limited attention span. Now these days, this attention span is going down and down and down. In fact, our attention spans are becoming shorter than the attention span of goldfish. So the point is that interviewers have very limited attention span. So it is important for you to keep them engaged and make the interview conversational. So how do you make the interview conversational? By limiting your answer to 1 minute only. Whenever you start speaking, try to wrap up your answer in 1 minute so that the interviewer can also engage with you in a certain type of a discussion. So this is technique number 1. Technique number 2 is something called as pyramid structure of speaking. So pyramid structure of speaking is something that is taught to us while working in management consulting. So it simply means that you give out the most important information first, followed by the next level of information, then followed by the next level of information in order of importance. For example, if you ask me that, hey Akshat, can you walk me through your career path? I would say that happy to do it. So just to tell you very quickly about my professional journey. So I've worked in non-profit, politics and management consulting space. Now this is the most important piece of information. I have worked with organizations like BCG, Dalberg, Government of India. This is the next layer of information on this pyramid. In 6 years of my career, I have been able to develop a range of skills due to the variety of the work that I have undertaken. So essentially I spoke 3 sentences but in order of priority. This is called as pyramid structure of speaking. So just to conclude this video, effective communication is a very important skill. In fact, I would argue that it is one of the most important money making skills irrespective of what you're trying to do in your life. So make sure that you practice, follow good speakers, practice, gain confidence and become really good at this skill. So I hope you enjoyed the video and I will see you the next time.